Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Mac Show. Today, we are going to be talking about Fable and a new rumor that it might slip into 2027. Let's get right into this, and I want to know if you guys believe it or not. Either way, this is not my scoop. This is Special Nick's scoop, so I'm going to be reacting to it, and of course, I'm going to break down the rumor, and we'll take it from there. I have reached out to my people, and I have not heard anything about that. However, they dropped me a little nugget about something else, and I'll be doing another video before the weekend. Nod, nod, wink, wink, but we'll talk about that later. But either way, let's get into this story. I'm pulling up Fandom Wire because they have the most colorful webpage, and it says here, Fable might be delayed to 2027, but there's no doom and gloom, says Insider. Fable was delayed to 2026, but that might not even be the game's release year, according to a new rumor. All right, let's get into this right now. We've waited a long time for Fable to return, and we might have to wait even further if this new rumor is to be believed. While Xbox and Playground Games had initially planned a 2026 release for the game, a new report from Industry Insider and special scumbag friend of mine, Special Nick, suggests that the game may not arrive until 2027. He also says down here, the new rumor comes from Xbox era co-host, actually I believe the podcast was yesterday, Special Nick, who shared on a recent podcast that he's now heard from two sources that Fable may slip into 2027. Here's the quote, that's not doom and gloom with the game problems. Just hearing that it's taking a little bit longer than expected, Nick clarified. And then, of course, you always have to have somebody right underneath it, posting on Twitter saying, Fable will not be released in 2026 either. That is not what Special Nick said. He said it may slip into 2027, right? And again, he also clarified that it also wasn't a doom and gloom situation. They just required a little bit more time. Now, here's where it gets a little bit dangerous for these development studios. And we can't ignore what just happened a few weeks ago with Microsoft and the red wedding that they did on that fateful Wednesday, shutting down some games and, of course, thinning the herd with a lot of studios, and even shutting down a studio entirely. But the thing is, this game was first unofficially announced in 2017, and that was when Phil Spencer was on stage at E3. And when he talked about that, he said, remember that when they acquired like 4 studios in one shot, Ninja Theory and Playground and all that jazz? And then he was talking about all that. And he said, Playground with their open, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, Playground with their open world expertise will be working on a new project, whatever, blah, blah. He goes, more on that soon. It's been 8 years. How soon is soon? What's soon to this guy? Anyways, all joking aside, that will be 10 years if, presumably, let's say this game came out in 2027. That would be 10 years from when he said that to the possible release of this game. That is a long time. Now, the thing is, you wonder why Microsoft and all these other companies are all starting to invest in AI to get the ball rolling a little bit, because let's face it, folks, they could invest $80 billion more into AI, but in the end, it will save them billions of dollars in labor and all the costs that are going into these games. Because think about this, if you get your average developer out there making anywhere between $80,000 and $136,000 a year, and that doesn't include the top guys, right? Multiply that by 10 years. Yeah, it may not be the same people. People come and go. That's just how, work is. But you're still paying labor at those costs for 10 years for the game. You are building an almost insurmountable level, okay, of budget that's going to be incredibly difficult to be able to sell at that point. Now, for example, you look at Rockstar, you say, well, Rockstar does the same thing. They're taking a decade plus to make GTA 6. GTA 6 is going to make billions of dollars in the first 72 hours, right? So no matter how much it costs them, if it costs them $500 million, $1 billion, I think I keep hearing that this number of $1 billion, whether that's entirely true or not, we don't know. I mean, if you added marketing costs and everything, I could possibly see that, right? But they're going to make like $3 billion, $3 billion in the first 72 hours. Never mind the coming weeks, months, and years. And let's not forget, GTA Online is going to be making bucket loads of cash on top of it. That is surmountable. However, Fable has been out of the spotlight for several years. And I could tell you this, my kids are 13 and 10 years old, and they have no idea what Fable is. No idea. Because when those Fable games were really hot, like Fable 2 and Fable 3, and they were really like on the tips of everybody's tongue, like back in the 360 days and everything else, My kids weren't even a twinkle in my eye. They have no idea what this is. So in their mind, to the younger generation, it's an unproven IP. In their mind, right? To me, I was there for all of it. I played all the Fable games and I loved them all. And actually, Fable is tied for first place. Three-way tie, okay? Three-way tie for first place in 2026 of GTA 6, Resident Evil Requiem, and Fable are my three most anticipated games of 2026. Now, if this gets pushed into 2027, well, that actually doesn't even really amount to a lot of problems for Microsoft either, because they're still going to have an annual Call of Duty in there. They still got State of Decay 3 in there. The ever elusive Contraband, no idea what the hell's going on with that game. And then, of course, the juggernaut itself. We've got GTA 6, which is going to basically dominate the mindshare from pretty much whenever it decides to release. I know they say May 26, 2026, but you know how Rockstar can be sometimes, right? But let's just say, for argument's sake, it does come out on that day. They will dominate the mindshare for the rest of the year. There's nothing else that could come out that is absolutely going to be taking people away from GTA 6. GTA 6 is still going to be the top seller for every single month for the entire year. It is going to cast a shadow over everybody. So maybe Fable getting pushed to 2027 isn't really a bad thing. However, the further you push this, I'm afraid for a lot of things. I'm not afraid for the game. The game is going to come out. I know that for sure. The game is going to come out. However, you got to look at the future of these developers. When Microsoft, who doesn't care about that stuff, all they care about is the metrics, okay? The dollars and the cents. And when they see that it's taking this long to release a game and how much it's costing them in labor, you're going to find out real quick that they're not going to greenlight games that are going to take that long at those prices, right? And those salaries. That is where the problem lies, not the game. It's lying in the future of the developers. And what's going to happen is that those developers are going to be replaced by AI, and it's going to, like I said, yes, a hefty investment to begin with. However, in the long run, it is going to save Microsoft billions of dollars down the road, because they're not thinking about tomorrow. They're thinking 20 years from now. Their projections are far further than any of us even can contemplate. That's the way that these corporations operate, right? And so they start phasing these things out, and that's what I'm afraid to see. I don't want to see that. Yeah, sure, I want the games to come out in a more timely fashion, and I know that AI would be able to do that because, like I said before a million times, AI don't sleep. It doesn't take vacations, doesn't have to go home to take care of the kids, doesn't have to make dinner, doesn't get sick, doesn't go on mat leave, all those other things, right? It just goes 24 hours a day, 24 hours a day. So those development times are going to speed up and the customers are going to love it. But at the same time, you're going to lose a little bit of that soul of what makes these games great. But anyways, that's another story for another time. I want to know what you guys think about this whole Fable situation. Do you think it's getting pushed to 2027, or do you think it's still coming out in 2026? Either way, everybody have yourself a wonderful day and stay magnificent.